Listen carefully to what I am about to tell you. If you have ever wondered why some live in abundance while others struggle, you must look beyond appearances. The world you see is not an independent reality acting upon you. It is your own inner state made visible. Everything begins within. What you accept as true in your imagination, you will experience as fact. This is not philosophy or empty words. It is law. A law that works without preference, without partiality. Many want wealth. They long for freedom, comfort, security. Yet they remain fixed in the state of not having it. They think constantly about what they lack. They rehearse poverty in their minds while claiming they desire abundance. But you cannot live in the state of poverty in imagination and expect wealth in experience. You cannot sow one seed and reap another. This is the error so many make. They believe circumstances dictate their future. They say, "I will feel rich when I have money," never realizing that feeling is the cause, not the effect. You must reverse this thinking entirely. Your outer world is the shadow. It is the result. Your inner assumption is the substance, the cause. When you grasp this fully, you will stop trying to change the world through force, pleading, or worry. Instead, you will turn within and choose the state you wish to occupy. That is the first step in transforming your life into one of wealth and plenty. Do not rush this understanding. Sit with it. Consider it deeply. For what you assume to be true of yourself and your world is exactly what you will encounter and experience. Let us go further. If you truly desire to transform your financial world, you must begin with the acceptance of a new identity. You must see yourself inwardly as one who is already prosperous. There can be no lasting change without this shift. Do not wait for evidence from the outer world to confirm it. That evidence will come, but only after you have accepted the state within. Many find this difficult because they've spent years arguing with appearances. They look at a small bank balance and say, "How can I feel rich when I see this?" But appearances are nothing but the result of past assumptions. They are not the law itself. If you continue to react to appearances as though they are final, you remain bound by them. But if you refuse to accept them as ultimate, and instead persist in your new assumption of wealth, the outer must eventually conform. Understand, this is not wishful thinking. It is not daydreaming. It is the disciplined act of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled until it becomes your natural state. The world is shaped by sustained assumption. Your task is to sustain the inner knowing that you are already what you desire to be. When you accept this as true, you will find that conditions rearrange themselves in your favor. So I ask you now to consider, what would you feel if you were truly wealthy? How would you walk? How would you speak? What quiet confidence would fill you? These are not idle questions. They are the keys to unlocking the state you wish to occupy. Do not be deceived by the idea that outer effort will bring lasting wealth. It is your inner acceptance that determines the flow of wealth to you. Without this change within, all effort remains limited. Choose now to assume the state of abundance. Begin there. Return there. Live there in imagination, and the world will confirm it. Now, let us examine the mind of the millionaire, the one who lives in wealth not by accident but by design. What sets this mind apart is not mere knowledge or luck. It is a settled conviction, a living assumption that wealth is their natural state. Millionaires do not focus on scarcity or limitation. They do not fret over lack or dwell in fear of loss. Instead, their thoughts and feelings are constantly aligned with abundance. They think in terms of possibilities, opportunities, and expansion. This is not something that can be learned from books alone. It is an inner transformation. The millionaire imagines success with the full engagement of the senses. They see it, feel it, even taste and smell the life of wealth before it manifests. Consider how you think of money. Are your thoughts filled with doubt, with stories of struggle and lack? Or do you see money as a flowing river that moves effortlessly toward you? Millionaires assume the latter. They do not chase the river. They step into it with confidence. They understand that money is an extension of their inner state. Their wealth is a mirror of their sustained feeling of plenty. You too can develop this mind, but it requires a deliberate refusal to entertain thoughts of limitation. It requires consistent assumption of the state you desire. Only then will your external world reflect the riches you have embraced within. Next, we will explore a practical method to anchor this state deeply within your consciousness, a method that millionaires employ naturally, whether consciously or not. To anchor the state of wealth deeply within your being, you must engage the power of imagination fully and deliberately. Imagination is not merely a fleeting daydream. It is the workshop of creation. What you hold vividly in your imagination, you impress upon your subconscious mind. Millionaires, whether aware of it or not, live in a constant state of imagined success. They picture themselves enjoying the benefits of wealth with all their senses. The smell of the leather in their car, the feel of crisp bills in their hands, the sound of their name spoken with respect and admiration, all become part of their assumed reality. To follow their example, begin a daily practice of imagining your life as if your desire is already fulfilled. Create scenes that imply you are already wealthy. Perhaps you see yourself signing checks freely or enjoying the comforts only money can provide. Allow yourself to experience the emotions that come with having no lack. This is not an exercise in wishful thinking. It is a disciplined act of faith. Faith not in luck, but in the immutable law that your assumptions shape your reality. You must do this with consistency and feeling. The subconscious mind cannot distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is real. Feed it with the sensation of having, not the desire to have. As you continue this practice, you will notice subtle changes. Ideas, opportunities, and people will begin to align with your assumed state. This is the law responding. Your world reshaping itself according to your inner belief. This method is the foundation upon which true wealth is built. As you persist in this inner work, you will inevitably encounter resistance. This resistance appears as doubt, fear, or the persistent voice of past experiences whispering that it is impossible. Understand that this is natural. It is simply the subconscious mind clinging to old patterns and beliefs. The key is not to battle these thoughts, but to gently redirect your attention. Do not argue with your doubts. Do not feed them with your energy. Return always to the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Live from the end as if your desire is already accomplished. Those who succeed financially are not free from doubt. They simply persist in the assumption of wealth despite moments of uncertainty. They understand that the outer world is compelled to conform to their sustained inner conviction. You must learn patience. Do not be discouraged if your results do not appear immediately. Manifestation often requires time for conditions to rearrange themselves perfectly. Remain faithful to your vision. Keep your imagination vivid and your feelings firmly rooted in abundance. See your inner world as the cause and your outer world as its inevitable effect. When you stop resisting and fully embrace your new state of wealth, the law will operate unfailingly in your favor. Next, reflect on who you believe yourself to be, for it is your self-concept that determines what you will accept or reject in life. The wealthy mindset is not merely about having money, but about embodying the certainty of being the one who creates and sustains wealth. Your assumptions about yourself set the limits of your world. Change these assumptions, and you change everything that flows from them. Adopt the identity of one who is prosperous, generous, and free. As you sustain this new concept of self, you will see your world rearrange itself to match it. Now consider how this shift in self-concept can transform not only your financial life, but every aspect of your experience. Hold firmly to this truth and watch as abundance becomes the natural expression of your inner certainty. Let us go even deeper into this idea of self-concept and wealth. If you believe yourself to be unworthy of wealth, you will unconsciously sabotage every opportunity. If you see yourself as one who struggles, you will accept struggle as your portion in life. But if you dare to assume you are wealthy in mind and spirit, that you are worthy of every good thing, then the world must reflect that change. This is not arrogance. It is faith in the truth that consciousness is the only reality. Your world is your consciousness pushed outward. You must examine what you consistently say to yourself about money. Do you call it hard to get? Do you speak of how little there is? Or do you affirm silently that money flows easily and freely to you? Your inner dialogue shapes your assumptions, and those assumptions solidify into facts. This is the law in action. It does not discriminate. It simply reflects what you accept as true. So, begin today to revise these inner conversations. When you catch yourself thinking in terms of lack, replace it immediately with the assumption of abundance. Do it without strain, without forcing, but with the quiet confidence that this is the reality you choose. And remember, wealth is not merely having money. It is the feeling of freedom, of security, of possibility. When you assume this inner freedom, money becomes one of many channels through which that freedom expresses itself. You do not need to chase it. You do not need to plead for it. You accept it. You feel it done. And then you allow it to unfold naturally in your world. Let this be the foundation of your wealth. A calm certainty that what you assume with feeling and persist in believing must appear in form. Now let us turn to the practical application of these ideas, for it is not enough to know them. You must live them. Each day offers you the opportunity to test this law, to prove to yourself that assumption, when persisted in, hardens into fact. Take time each day to sit quietly and enter the state of your wish fulfilled. Close your eyes and imagine a scene that would be true if you were already wealthy. See yourself paying bills with ease, investing freely, sharing generously. Feel the relief and satisfaction of knowing it is all taken care of. Engage all your senses. Smell the newness of your home. Hear the sound of congratulations from friends. Feel the fine fabric of clothes you now own. Taste the richness of meals enjoyed without worry. The more vivid and real this inner experience, the more certain its outer reflection. This is not idle fantasy, but the deliberate cultivation of faith. Faith is loyalty to the unseen reality you have accepted. Do not concern yourself with how or when it will appear. Your task is to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to accept it as already true in consciousness. The law will take care of the means, the timing, and the unfolding. Whenever doubt arises, gently return to your vision. Rest in it as often as needed. Refuse to be distracted by appearances that contradict it. Circumstances may lag behind, but they must conform. Understand that this is not magic. It is law. It is the simple, unchanging principle that consciousness is the only reality. What you accept and sustain within must become your world without. So choose carefully, persist faithfully, and watch as the world yields its riches in answer to your assumption. Consider now how many have failed simply because they would not persist. They allowed the evidence of their senses to dictate what was possible. They gave more power to the outer world than to their inner assumptions. But you are being called to reverse this, to place your faith where it belongs, within, to understand that your consciousness is the creative cause and that your outer life is its faithful servant. This means you do not beg for wealth. You do not hope timidly for scraps of prosperity. You assume wealth boldly. You move in imagination as one who is already prosperous, generous, secure. If the world contradicts you, you do not fight with it. You quietly return to your inner conviction. You know that circumstances are simply the result of former assumptions now playing out, and that new assumptions, faithfully held, will give rise to new circumstances. You need not know how this will happen. The law knows. It arranges all necessary means. Your role is to assume and persist. So allow yourself to relax into this certainty. Release the tension of trying to control every outcome. Accept that the world will reflect your sustained inner state. Allow it to catch up to the reality you now hold within. If you feel resistance, observe it calmly. Do not condemn yourself. Simply return to your vision. Strengthen it with feeling, with repetition, with quiet conviction. This is the work. It is not toil in the outer world, but the gentle, determined discipline of assumption. It is learning to dwell in the end, to see yourself as the one who already has. And as you do this, as you make it a natural part of your being, wealth must come. It must appear not as a favor, but as a law fulfilled. For what you accept within must express itself without. Rest in this truth. Practice it daily. And watch as the abundance you once sought now becomes the natural outpouring of your own consciousness. Because in the end, it is not about chasing riches. It is about becoming wealth itself in consciousness and letting the world prove it. Let us go even further into this truth so that you do not mistake this for empty dreaming. You see, wealth is not an accident. It is not granted to a chosen few by chance. It is the result of assumption maintained with faith. If you look at the lives of those considered wealthy, you will see a common thread. They accepted wealth as natural to them. Even when circumstances suggested otherwise, they persisted in the belief that they were wealthy people. Their thoughts, feelings, and actions flowed from this conviction. This is what you are being asked to do: to make wealth your natural state, in imagination first. To so fully accept it within that it feels inevitable without. Not through force or frantic striving, but through quiet certainty. You may say, "But I see no evidence of this in my life." Yes, because you are looking at the result of former assumptions. The law is always reflecting back what you most deeply accept. So you must plant new assumptions if you desire new results. This is why you must be watchful of your inner conversations. Are you speaking lack or abundance? Are you complaining of poverty or affirming wealth? Because every word, every feeling is a seed sown. Cultivate an inner environment rich in the feeling of abundance. Imagine yourself blessed with every good thing. Live inwardly from the place of security and generosity. Feel yourself relieved of fear and limitation. When you do this consistently, you will begin to notice subtle changes. Opportunities you never imagined will appear. Ideas will come to you, people will cross your path. This is not coincidence, but the law fulfilling your assumption. So I say again, assume the feeling of wealth, persist in that assumption without wavering, and let the world prove it. For what you accept as true within must eventually appear without. I want you to understand this clearly. The millions you desire are not far away. They are not locked behind some gate you have no key for. They are as close as your own acceptance of them. Do not think of wealth as something reserved for others. Do not see it as a distant hope, but as a present reality you are learning to claim. The distance between you and the millions you want is measured only by the strength of your assumption. If you can assume it and persist in that assumption without being shaken by what you see today, then it must come. This is not optimism or wishful thinking. It is law. All things are possible to the one who believes, because belief is creation. You do not earn wealth through struggle alone, nor do you beg for it. You become wealthy in your imagination first. See yourself living the life that reflects your wealth. Feel the ease of knowing bills are paid before they arrive. Sense the calm confidence of one who can give freely. Walk, speak, and think from the place of abundance. If at first it feels unnatural, persist anyway. It will become natural. Your outer world must conform to the inner world you sustain with faith. You need not beg life to give you wealth. You need not plead with some distant power. It is already within you as possibility, waiting for your permission to express. So today, I urge you to drop the idea that millions are out of reach. See them as already yours. Claim them with confidence. And hold that claim calmly and persistently, knowing it is law that will see it done. Rest in that assurance. Return to it as often as needed. And watch as the world reorganizes itself to match the wealth you have already accepted within.